And we all are aware that UPSs are in the industry since ages, right? And they have evolved during the period. So, how would you define a traditional UPS system and a cutting edge or new generation UPS system?
Uh, yeah, I'll try to take this question. So UPS has already reached that cutting edge stage, which we are seeing. UPS has reached the efficiency of 98 percentage. So there were back later some 10 years or 6 years back, we had transformer based UPS. From there we migrated to IGBT based, and now latest the silicon carbide based IGBTs. So as such, that division of traditional UPS and cutting edge UPS is already happened, and we are, I think almost everybody is using a latest technology UPS. And now the new load which UPS has to cater is the AI load, which is again the UPS are capable to cater. And when we test the UPS, we do that step load, which AI we are expecting, everybody is expecting that AI load will throw upon the UPS. So that's already been tested. But yeah, that real world loading onto the UPS is yet to come. So I'm sure the UPS manufacturers, we have a co-panelist here with us. They can shed more light onto it, on what all testing they are doing on that perspective and how they are ready to cope up with that.
Thank you very much. I mean, this is absolutely true what you're saying, Mr. Rajesh. Just maybe to also further articulate a little bit, if I look, for example, at the development of the UPS industries over the last 40 years, right? Especially when it comes to the certain level of power applications. I mean, probably back 30 years ago, we were just having diesel gensets, rotary UPSs. And then at some point, we basically moved to electronic UPS double conversion as soon as the electronic cost was actually dropping. And then at some point, we had as a first generation of the transform of the static UPSs, the so-called transformer based. And then I think probably about 10, 15 years ago, there was another very important revolution with, for example, the transformerless UPS. And then, I mean, of course, I mean, there have been a lot of incremental activities from a research and development standpoint to increase the performance, to improve the power density of the unit. And I agree. I mean, from a structural standpoint today, probably the architecture are reaching a certain level of stability and maturity. And now it's about getting the right components inside the product architecture to make sure that the performances are always top edge.
You would like to add something?
Yeah, like it's a great evolution of UPS systems, but I think all manufacturers almost reached at the peak. Now people are talking about 98% efficiency. What next? So 2 more % is available. Yeah, that's a great evolution that has happened. And when AI loads are there, now the demand is more. But ultimately now any colo player or any data center player, they instead of thinking the catering at high efficiency and all, their first thing is the availability and the sustainability. These two are major factors when it comes to AI loads, because the load demand is suddenly it's 4x and 5x compared to last 2 years.
It's not working somehow. AI is the buzzing word these days, right? I've heard at least 1,000 times since morning this word, right? When it comes to load profile, I would like to know what exactly are the challenges, or what are the changing parameters do you see in the load pattern? Is it only the density or amount of load which is increasing, or the nature of load is also increasing? And what challenges it is posing on the UPS or power system design? And what are the mitigations that new technology or cutting edge technology we are talking about is going to add, so that we come through the solution?
Yes, thank you very much, Ulka, for the question. I think the question is very, very appropriate. I think it's a very fundamental question nowadays for us, supply chain industry leaders. I think it's a concrete. Let me say, the artificial intelligence. It's a concrete opportunity for everyone, and no one has to stop the technology progressing. But from a supply chain industry standpoint, it will add a lot of challenges from our perspective. And maybe here, what I would like to bring up to the discussion point, it's a real experience coming from a real factory acceptance test that we run just 1.5 months ago at our facilities for one of the major colocation operators in EMEA, requesting us to validate and to fat test all our UPSs across against a certain profile, load profile for artificial intelligence. Now, the load profile was crazy. I mean, it was about 1 hour with transitions every 30 seconds, and it was 0 to 100%, 100%. So, I mean, to allocate this type of transitions, to allocate this kind of test loads, so what we did, very, very simply, we connected the UPSs to an external resistor, and we were opening and closing continuously the resistor through a switchgear. What happened is that the FAT ran absolutely perfectly smooth. But the day after discussing with the technology director in our department, he told me, yes, the customer is happy, but now I have to change the switchgear. Because the switchgear was not designed to get 120 transition in just one single hour. I mean, the switchgear is designed to get 120 transition maybe in 20 years, in 30 years. It's not designed to get 120 transition. I'm not saying that this is the real case, because if you have electronic loads, the loads goes up and down. But however, this brings the point of durability and accelerated aging of the component. Are we ready for the challenge? This is where I have my doubts. Because, I mean, now we have a certain level of technology which is very stable and very performing on cloud architecture, where you have certain load profiles which are very regulated and slightly changing. But as soon as you start having this bang bang control, 100%, then you can expect that the life of your component is going to be reduced. How much reduced? This is where our suppliers, our sub-suppliers are also studying a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, now the mean time between failures, definitely that may get reduced. Who knows? Because still the AI technology and the power conditioning systems designed for that are yet to see the actual load, because people are still in the inception stage and early adoption, I can say. It may maybe down the line 1 year, 1.5 years, we'll see the actual reality.
No, that's really great to know that such simulations are happening. And but again, these are simulations, and as you rightly said, when actual loads will come, that time will come to know what are the are there any parameters which help us in our design as well. All right. So we are talking about new technologies and the cutting edge technology you mentioned about. How fast it is coming? What is the rate? And if anything, any parameter, anything is helping accelerating it, what is that? Or anything is holding back to get the technology onboarded?
uh, as mentioned earlier, I think as a capacity wise or as a technology wise, I think all the UPS OEMs are ready with this this kind of technology, and they are up to date. So it's only the actual load parameters, and that what that throws onto the electronic system is what we need to really see and act upon it. The OEMs has to come up, if any issues comes up, they have to study and they have to rectify that whole system. So that will happen in a due course of time. To start with, yeah, as Dr. Antonio told, it is the electronics is clear, but the electrical part will be the challenge, which switch gears will not be able to take. Switch gears may not be able to interpret that it is not an fault, but it's a load coming in. So the curve, the tripping curve characteristics, that all has to be properly selected and maybe tweaked for this kind of load. That's is yet to be seen.
Yeah, no, the question comes, like your question, I think you're talking about whether this technology will remain or something else may replace this particular technology of UPS. Yes, if you see, like many of the colo players in India, elsewhere, their major customers are the top four big brothers hyperscalers. One of the hyperscalers already started avoiding IT UPS, that is large UPS in their facilities. They are coming up with their own OCP rack, that is Open Rack version 3 now. It started with 2, which is 12 kilowatt per rack. Now it is almost 48 kilowatt per rack, which doesn't require a UPS because it comes with a small DC kind of application within the rack itself, along with small size of lithium-ion batteries and cooling everything inside. They just get the racks to your colo facility. The only UPS you require is for your chillers, pumps, and all auxiliary loads. Yes, like we already supply that kind of things, but then this will may replace the existing IT large UPS systems. That is one of the technologies. And second thing is the renewable energy. If you see Meta in US, Arizona, their data center 300 megawatt purely on solar, along with 300 megawatt of BESS. They are using that without using any UPS. So if you see in India also now slowly the solar farms and all, like there is a lot of investments, a lot of subsidies going on in that. That is one more thing. Down the line, 5 years, we may not know whether the kind of UPS systems we're talking about, 97%, 98% efficiency and smaller footprint, large footprint, whatever, that may remain or not. That will be there as a core technology. Power electronics will be there. It can be then can become a grid interactive kind of UPS system, or it can become a bidirectional converter along with BESS using a solar or wind. But the basic traditional, even cutting edge UPS technology may not be there after 5 years. That's what is I'm foreseeing.
Exactly. And just to add to your point, I think as you rightly said, new grid systems are also evolving. It's not only the data center. Grids are also evolving. Lots and lots of renewables are getting entering into the grid, and uh, big enterprise data center developers, they would like to have their own renewables as well. As Reliance, there was Ravi Chaudhary from Reliance. He mentioned about it. So do you see when the UPS systems, because there would be IT loads, as you mentioned, though they will be on standalone UPSs which will be inside the servers, but there will be some UPS system will be required for to serve your mechanical loads as well. How the entire system together as a whole will look like, and what do you see in future? What combination of UPS and grid systems you see in the future?
Maybe, Ms. Ulka, I will take the first bite if it is okay for the colleagues. I start from the consideration that if you take the data center ecosystem, the data center player ecosystem, it's very fragmented. I mean, you may have the edge application operators, you may have the cloud operators, the hyperscaler operators, you may have the colocation operators, you may also have the so-called enterprise traditional business, right? Where the command parameters is just price, and never let it down. I mean, these are basically the two buzzers. I would say that from our standpoint, also considering the different regional nuances across the span, I would say that there is not one single solution which will fit all of the requirements of the data center industry. So we shall look actually at different verticals, we shall look at the different requirements, and maybe we can come up with different conditions or with different type of architectures. Just to provide you, for example, I mean, if we're talking today about an artificial intelligence driven data center, right, or driven for that purpose data center, I mean, we're talking about campuses of 500 megawatts, 600 megawatt to 1 gigawatt, right? So there you may start thinking, okay, I want to have, larger power UPSs because it's economically more feasible. And since you have much more energy storage, you may think, okay, I want to have power UPSs supporting the grid services. But in some other cases, for example, like the edge or the telecom, you may even have a kind of in-row distribution of smaller UPS modules. And it's quite challenging from our perspective, trying to find the right level of platform, because also we want to get a certain level of economy scale from our perspective that can be able to fulfill all the requirements of the different customers across all the globe. So I would say that there will be for sure different trends.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree with Dr. Antonia. But then ultimately the skeleton of power electronics, UPS system, that will be there in some or other form. That will be there. And based on that, based on the market needs, colo data center needs, and the PUE needs, the technologies may differ, but there will be further cutting edge technologies, as you said. And UPS may not be called as UPS, but it will be there some other form or same form. Yeah.
That's good. Do we have any questions from audience? Yeah, so I would like to conclude this session. As we all are aware, the data center industry is evolving, industry load is evolving, and along with that, with lots and lots of innovation in place and sustainable measures becoming very important and paramount for the industry. Um, we can see lots happening, and it's going to go on exponential path. So, no, great discussion. Thank you so much, and thanks for the lovely audience. Thank you.